Hype. Come with me tonight. Can't you see? I wanna be with you. Hype. Come with me tonight.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. It is Friday, it's the end of the month, and we're back again with another video. To my right is Jay. We're going to talk about all things West Ham related on and off the pitch, especially on X, as it's all been kicking off on X recently. So smash a like on the video, it goes a long way before we get started. Jay, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I have had a haircut. Fuck you, Steve Tiley. And it is finally the end of January. Thank goodness. Only a couple more days until the transfer window is closed. I cannot wait. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Do you know what? This week has been the same as what I thought it would be. Fuck all. And let's be real. Am I surprised? Not really. Do you know what I mean? But there is a link that's come out today. Craig Dawson, mate. Discuss.
Where do we actually start with this? I actually have no idea where to begin. Maybe I'll begin with something that we actually spoke about on Monday. God, they all merged into one, didn't they? We've had the same conversation all transfer window of nothing happening, basically. I was talking about Mikel Antonio, and someone said to me, there's no room for sentiment in football. And that is a viewpoint that's shared by a lot of people. And I understand that. But for me, I love a good, just a good storyline. I love, and this is a good storyline. We'll come to whether he can actually still do the job in a moment. But I'm sure if you present Craig Dawson to West Ham fans up and down the country right now, everyone says, bring. Like the memories we've got with Craig Dawson, it felt, I genuinely think it finished too soon. Obviously, he was having some off the pitch problems that resulted in him needing to move closer to back home. And you can't fault the man for that. Like he gave his all, and he actually stayed longer than I think he was expecting to stay, still gave his all. And then everyone wished him well on his way. So in that respect, if he's managed to first of all, make it work for him to come back to West Ham for a short period of time, I would have him back, mate, just from a sentimental value, just from what he brings to West Ham. I'd absolutely have him back in a heartbeat, mate. What are you saying?
It's like one step forward, two steps back, isn't it? This club, isn't it? Every single time. Listen, he's a player of ours. We let him go because he wanted to move up north. Obviously, it isn't working out at Wolves. They've got a new manager. Probably look at Craig Dawson as not the right guy. 6-month loan. I don't think it's a bad thing. But this club at present is a fucking joke, honestly. I see people kicking off each other. I see people spouting players and people who they reckon are going to come, and we've got no fucking chance of coming. It's just, I just need to have a bit of clarity and a bit of realism. Do you know what I mean? If Craig Dawson is the guy on a 6-month loan, fair enough. It's got to be better than fucking Mavropanos, because Mavropanos can't defend. Do you know what I mean? But yet again, we're replacing players with no pace with players with no pace. So, I don't really understand that one. From a sentimental side of it, I think it's a good move. But I don't know. I'll probably say if it means just get into the summer, I'd probably say for me.
Should we look at it from both sides and the positives and negatives to it, right? Because we can sentimentality. If it was purely a sentimental move, I think every West Ham fan says, bring him back, 100%. Obviously, it's not just a sentimental choice, and we need to realistically strengthen in centre back, centre midfield, and striker areas. We all know that that's probably not going to happen. I've said from day one of this transfer window, I think the only deal we do is Evan Ferguson on loan, and I still stand by that, to be honest. So we'll come back. I'm sure we'll come back to the Evan Ferguson thing in a moment, but let's focus on Super Craig. So if you look at the negatives of it, right? He's probably not the same bloke. In fact, we know he's probably not the same player as he was when he left West Ham. He was probably on the downward slope in his last 6 months at West Ham. And he can't hold down a place in Wolves' team. I must confess, I don't watch a lot of Wolves. They're an absolute horror show to watch most of the time. And for that reason, if he's sitting on the bench every week, what makes him good enough to go from holding bench at Wolves to come and play at West Ham? Is the question that we have to ask ourselves. And to your point, I 100% agree. If a big problem in our defence is that it's not quick enough, then adding Craig Dawson isn't necessarily going to solve that. Now, if you look at it on the other side of it, and you look at what he'll actually bring to the side, and the reasons that this move might actually work. First and foremost, he's played in a back three, and he's played in a back three with Kilman. Like he could slot straight in with Max Kilman. And the problem with that Wolves team last season was not that they were shipping goals every week; it's they couldn't score. They just could not score. They would lose games 1-0 and they would draw games. They just could not score enough goals. But defensively, they were solid. So if you look at it this way and you say, would you rather, and the question that you asked, and I'll ask this to chat, would you rather be starting Mavropanos or would you rather be starting Craig Dawson? That's the question that I ask.
Tricky one, really. I actually agree with you on the. I didn't really think of the Kilman situation. Obviously, he's played with Kilman, so he know where he works. I don't. I'm not either here or there. Like if he comes back, then great. Like it's a love affair. Like it's like having an ex-bird coming back for 6 months, then deciding that she's going to retire from the game,
knowing that she's got to leave after 6 months.
Yeah, like I'm not really fussed about it if I'm being truthfully honest. But like I don't really get sentimental with Dawson. Like I think he was a good player. I see when people used to slag off Moyes all the time, but Moyes is the one who signed him for £2.2 million. Do you know what I mean? He was, and we could have had James Tarkowski for 50 million, but Moyes said no. So I'm not really sort of sentimental on that one. It could be a good move. It really could. Do you know what I mean? Nick's saying, obviously, Mav, obviously, I love Dawson, though. I don't know
is it obvious, though? I don't know if it's that obvious. Like, you look at the job that he needs to come in and do.
Yeah.
Look at two things. He's got a short-term job he'd need to come in and do. He purely needs to come in and try and solidify a pretty leaky defence. And what we need in that defence and what we lack is leadership and experience. And he brings both those things. You look at what Mavropanos brings, and he brings a lot of mistakes. Yes, he's quite powerful, and he can be pretty good on the ball occasionally. But outside of that, he's not brought a lot this season, and he's not brought the pace that perhaps we're missing. You look at the job that Kilman did. You look at the goal we conceded against Aston Villa, right? And you look at the job that Kilman was doing within that back three. The goal we conceded was along Soufal's side, who is not a centre-back, who is not necessarily quick, but he's also not strong. He's not strong enough to hold off a striker when they're taking a shot, and that's what happened. Jacob Ramsey bullied him, and he scored. If Craig Dawson's there, Jacob Ramsey doesn't score because Craig Dawson sits him on his arse. I'm absolutely 100% confident of that. So when you're in that position, you look at having Kilman as the centre-back in a back three and having Kilman as the right centre-back. And, well, Tadebo's not far from coming back. And then having Tadebo as the left centre-back. And then you've got an option between what do you do on that right-hand side? Do you then drop Wan-Bissaka in and drop Dawson out and have him as a squad rotation player? Do you bring Mavropanos back in? There's a bit of versatility to our back three that we currently don't have. So I'm not 100% against it. I don't think it's perfect, but I've said all along, you can't hope for a perfect transfer window in this transfer window because it ain't going to happen. If you want 3 top quality players to come in before the end of Monday, I think it is, you got another thing coming.
The only thing I will say is the lack of organisation, though. If you're looking for a defender, the last person you'd think that we'd be going for is a man that we got rid of, like to go because he wanted to be up north and closer to his family. Honestly, I just don't get this club, and it has really drove me mental this week in regards of like I'm sitting there, I'm doing videos, I'm thinking, what are we trying to do here? Do you know what I mean? And I'll put it to the chat right now. Someone tell me in the chat what we're trying to do, because I'd love to hear it. I'll take any suggestions. I'll take any sort of advice. Yeah, for me, it's a sentimental move, right? We need a centre half. But it doesn't fill you with like great joy. It's like, could it be a waste of time? Do you know what I mean? Or is it just a sentimental thing? What have you made of this week, Jay? Speaking about everything.
I tell you first and foremost, I've said something similar to this before. Like, I can't stand the I called it first ITK culture among
completely agree.
Just football Twitter in general, and
YouTube,
and you just social media in general, right? There's this whole culture surrounding I was first to break this news because let's put this out there, right? There are definitely people out there who know someone who knows something. Yeah, that does not make you ITK. That means that you've got a mate that you occasionally speak to who feeds you a little bit of information, which is potentially right, but they do not know the full story. They do not know the ins and outs. But the second someone makes a decision to go, and this is my pet hate, exclusive. People who are absolutely nobody's coming out with exclusive. I'm like,
Yeah.
what is exclusive? You've guessed, like you've filled in the blanks of some information that you've been told, and time after time they get proven wrong. And it's made like football, social media in general, completely toxic because everyone just wants information. Everyone wants the information first. And it means some people are desperate to put their information out. Some people put their information behind a paywall. Some people are just purely guess. And that's including journalists, by the way. All like, journalists are under all of those categories. And it's just mental. Like it just drives me nuts. I want to go back to the days. I'll always remember when we signed Tevez and Mascherano. I was on holiday. And I can't remember where I was. I was on one of the islands off Spain with my family, and Dad's gone down to pick up the newspaper, comes back, flicks it over, goes to the back pages, and he goes, Jesus Christ, West Ham have signed Tevez and Mascherano. And that's how we found out about the deal. I miss that. I would be happy to wake up on Tuesday morning in Poland, because I'm going to be in Poland, go down the local shop, pick up an English newspaper and go, West Ham signed someone yesterday. I would love it if it was that way. But the whole ITK culture has just made West Ham, not just West Ham, just football, social media, like an absolute cesspit. And it drives me mental, mate.
I completely agree. Completely agree. I done a show with Early Doors Football TV. Go and subscribe to their channel. Done it with him last night. And I sort of let loose on there. I really did. I sort of said that it's getting beyond the fucking joke now. In the space of 8 days, we counted 16 upwards of players we've been linked with. Why is it that this club likes to keep saying about the ex-managers? They like to keep saying about the ex-technical directors, but none of these fuckers out there, and I'm going to say it quite fucking openly, none of these cunts out there have got the passion like I've got and a few other people have got about Sullivan. None of them. And I asked the question to all these people right now, why don't you have the passion? And why don't you have the art and the desire to get this fucking dwarf cunt out of this club? Because for me, some of them are earning Nick the coin. That's what it is. Like, it's all about the dough. Yeah, it's all about, what needs to be first. One of the biggest ones is, we all know who he is, Mr. Sean, right? Biggest wind-up merchant. He keeps getting the fan base on fucking toast all the time. Why is there no one really putting pressure on this geezer? Like, honestly, and I will say it, and I said it last night on Early Doors, I'm going to say it again. I will stand by it on this channel. And if anyone wants to come and have it with me, they can fucking have it with me. Because I've just about had a gutful of this owner treating us like customers. We've all known that we need a striker at this club. We've all known that the striker should have been here, right? Well, but before it is. It is now day 31. And we've still got no one. Yeah, it's coming up to Friday night. People are out on the piss currently right now. We've still got no one. I find it embarrassing. I find it that we're the 17th richest club, and people go, at least he spends money. Who gives a fuck if he spends money or not? I'm going to be straight. Right? I don't give a fuck if that cunt spends 500 million. Yeah, he should do, because he is fucking representing us, and that is our club. It's not his club. Yeah, he might hold the key to the fucking castle, but that's our club at the end of the day, right? And we will live on long, fucking rather than him. So the question is, and I'm going to put it straight to the people in the chat, is why is no one calling Sullivan out consistently? Why is there no one, like, when Moyes was here, yeah, the fucking banners couldn't come out quick enough. Could not come out quick enough for GSB. Where are they now? And listen, I'm not going to lose it, right? Because everyone knows how I feel about Sullivan, right? But why is no one else got the same fucking energy? That's what I need to know. I need to understand what they do. I ain't going to do it because basically, he owns the club. So basically then all you care about is just watching West Ham. You don't care about like the infrastructure of West Ham or where we're going, what we're trying to be. You don't care about the fucking move. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously you don't care about the fucking move, because the whole point of moving was to be the best we can be. 17th richest club currently right now. I know I'm going on a rant, Jay. I do apologise. Yeah?
No.
But I'm just going to say this: 17th richest club, and we've not got a fucking striker to call our own at the minute, and we are relying on Mikel Antonio. And as I always say, it's no disrespect to the man, none at all. And I say it with heart. No disrespect to him. He's been a loyal servant. He's our top goal scorer and everything. But don't take us for cunts. Honestly, that's one thing. And I'm going to be straight. Sean's the biggest one. Do you know what I mean? And everyone who knows what Sean's like, he's the biggest one of all. So people need to start turning around and looking upstairs. They really do, right? Because this ain't changing, right? I've got a feeling, and I do hope I'm wrong, but if it comes to Monday night after the Chelsea game and that window shuts and we've signed no one, don't be here on Tuesday morning because I will be doing a video and I will fucking lose it with a lot of people. I do feel that everyone's trying to be right. Oh yeah, I've got this link. I've got this link. Fucking more links than a fucking brass house. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck about links. I care about who's coming and tell us. Fucking tell us. Do you know what I mean? Tell the people. We're all supporters. Do you know what I'm saying? What is it? Oh, I've got to be right. Do you know what I'm saying? Fuck about being right. Be fucking correct. That's what I'm saying on that. Anything you want to add on, Jay, before I fucking really lose it? Do you know what I'm saying?
I want to shout out Kev because I see him in chat. I see you on Twitter all the time. There's a picture of David Sullivan that with his like tongue out that is just haunting my timeline because Kev is posting it everywhere.
It has to stop, Kev. Honestly, mate. Every time I see it, I just want to smash my face like off it. You know what I mean?
Constantly, I can't scroll the timeline I'm hunting for transfer news and all I can see is Kev posting this picture everywhere. So yeah, fair play. Kev's on a rampage. Yeah, I can't disagree with anything that you've said. I do have a horrible feeling there's a good chance that we don't sign anybody. I don't think it's like end of the world stuff, but it's classic Sullivan that the manager clearly needs backup. I think we limp through, and I think Potter will do really well with the players that he's got. And I think part of the way that he's trying to sell himself and what he's trying to do for himself is trying to prove that he doesn't need recruitment to do his job for him. Is trying to prove that he can come in with the players that he's got and he can do a job with them. I'm not saying that's the best approach, but Potter himself has taken the West Ham job because he's got something to prove. A, because he wants to be at the club because West Ham's a big club, and B, because he wants to prove that he can build something and he doesn't have to rely on someone doing it for him. So I fear that he's the perfect match for Sullivan in that respect, in that he's not that fussed about going out and signing players, which he said in the press conference yesterday. And it's the perfect, it's music to David Sullivan's ears, isn't it? Like, you've got a manager there who goes, don't just sign players for the sake of it. And he's going to go, yeah, cool. I'll just sit on my hands then. And we know that the only reason we've not signed Ferguson, because I think there's two reasons actually. One is because Brighton play on the weekend, maybe three. Two, because he was injured and is now fit again. And three, because we'll be haggling down to a penny on the loan terms. Because I guarantee we could have had him loan with option. It could have been signed and done by now. With a view to, it could have been agreed in principle, but with a view to Brighton have got to play at the weekend, barring any injuries to João Pedro and Welbeck. But we'll be dipping our toes in the market. You see this phantom bid for Pepe that came out. Again, I don't know what to believe on that front. I don't believe anything anymore. But it stinks to the high heavens, doesn't it? It absolutely stinks.
There is no way. I'm going to get to a few comments because I see people saying, oh, it doesn't matter. We'll wait till the summer. Good luck. Good luck with that. I tell you what, right? We will have a similar situation that we had with Tim Steiden, right? Last summer, this summer. We're going to go out. We're going to try and buy, 9, 10 players? Because that's what we need, right? If you want to break it down, we can break it down sharp. Right, we need a change of goalkeeper. We need a fucking new left back because Emerson, I think, will probably be going. Scholes will be upgraded. We need a completely new midfield, and we need 2 strikers at this club. That's a lot of work we need to do in the summer, and I think you need to start now rather than later. For me, I disagree with Potter on this one. I really do. I think he's only saying what he knows, and when I say that, I mean he ain't going to say, I need a striker when, I need a player. It's more, he would like one, not say I need one, because it's basically saying that he needs to use a player to do his job. For me, I'm concerned. I'm majorly concerned. I'm not being funny. We've got Danny Ings in the ranks. And if we go with no striker and the season filters out, then it ends up being a problem to a point. Do you know what I mean? And I see people saying about, will the fan base start to turn? They shouldn't do. But with our fan base, it is toxic, it is volatile, and it is dangerous to a point, where people start copping the ump very very quickly. I think this season right now is more important than anything. I really do, because you have to help him now in order to build the side up into the summer. Do you know what I mean? The summer
Yeah.
window. Listen, people say, "Oh, like, about the summer window," right? When have we ever got a window bang on, Jay?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of, I was even waxing lyrical about the window that we had in the summer just gone, and God, how wrong we've been proven to be. I think to build on something that you've said there is there's opportunities that have arisen that we're not getting. So what Kev says,
Yeah.
latte laugh in the chat. Like, granted, like we've looked at him, he was available for a decent price. We decided not to get him. So maybe the team feel he's not up to it. I don't know. I've not watched him enough. The thing that sticks out to me is the talk about we were talking about Carlos Soler, and he had 2 good games, and people are saying, yeah, pay the money for Carlos Soler. The reports have come out now that James McAtee is available and City will listen to offers, and the rumor is about 18 million could get him. 18 million quid, which is less than what you'd have to pay for Carlos Soler, for a young English talent, homegrown, coming out of City's academy, and we've seen what City's academy can do. Look at what Liam Delap's gone and done in the Premier League this season. And I'm sure that maybe at the start, even during this window, people would say, oh, if you could get Liam Delap, get Liam Delap, because he's done really well for Ipswich.
Yeah.
So James McAtee is like an opportunity signing that has come up in a January where we should be going, that's great money for like a really up and coming player. And if it doesn't work out and he's not as good as we think he is, he's still going to get game time. He's still going to be part of the squad, and you could still sell him for decent money. And it just makes a lot of sense, as opposed to going and spending 20 plus million on Carlos Soler, who's been, let's face it, bang average at best over the course of the season, and he's not going to go up in value, and he's not going to get any better. So that's the kind of opportunity that we're missing, where we should be going, right, Graham, if you like this player, we're going to go and get him. And it's as simple as that. That's how we should be doing it.
See, I agree on that. I'm going to ask you something. Yeah, I'm going to put it to the chat also. What have you made of all the links that's come out? Because obviously 10 days ago, we was linked to Duran. He's gone now. He's out. Right, thank fuck for that. He's actually gone. Right, and we ain't got to speak about him after today. Like, what are we trying to do, Jay? Like, it's Brian Brobby, it's Pepe, it's now Arthur Cabral from Benfica, £18 million apparently. Right, honestly, I don't like. If someone could tell me what we're fucking trying to do at this club, like to try and find a striker, I'd love to hear it. I really would.
I think there's a few problems going on. One is this leak culture, this I broke it first culture that I was talking about a minute ago. That doesn't help anything. Supposedly a lot of these have been exaggerated, but I also think there's no smoke without fire. How often do people, like reputable sources, just make up stories nowadays? Yes, things will be exaggerated. Like that's part and parcel of it. But I don't think for one second that any of this is necessarily made up. I think, scattergun. And here's the reason, is Tim Steiden has gone, and we won't go into the Tim Steiden conversation. We've been there and done that. But what I've said before is the way that he conducts transfers and conducted transfers was typical of a good technical director, in that he's persistent, he knows how to negotiate, and he knows how to build relationships with people. You look at the way that we managed to get the Todibo deal done. We were patient. We did the right things. We went and got a really highly rated player for, I think the actual obligation is a lot lower than we thought it was originally as well. So we've managed to go and get a few deals done that have been really, really impressive from a actual operations perspective. Now, that's the bit that we miss. We don't miss having someone standing by the manager and talking to the players and standing in front of cameras and stuff. We don't need that. But what we do need is someone who's savvy in the transfer market. And we've this transfer window, the last 30 days or so, have been a symptom of how poorly David Sullivan operates in the market and how poorly he treats people in other clubs. Look at the Brian Brobby situation, by the way. The reports that have come out that were saying it was as good as done, and some reputable sources said it was as good as done.
He was in fucking London, apparently, wasn't he?
Exactly, to the point where the player thinks it's as good as done. So he comes to London, and then we go, actually, mate, how about you hold off? And it went from being, the quotes that I saw was that it was 99% done, and then it was a 10% chance, and he was back in the Ajax squad the following game. And it doesn't make sense. But that's the point of, if you treat people like shit, it comes back to bite you eventually. So we have to get somebody in to replace Steiden to do that job, take all the ego, take all the like obsession with Brazilians out, and just put a good, sensible operator in there who can get deals done and who can work with Carl McCauley. And then will actually have an operation that probably works and that probably identifies talent well and goes and gets it in a way that doesn't completely embarrass us all. But at the moment, we're all over the shop because behind the scenes, we're all over the shop.
What do you make of Evan Ferguson, mate? I am honestly, I don't know where to land on this one. I think he's a good up and coming player. Like, let's be honest, he's Premier League proven. He scored goals in the Prem. He's had injuries. For me, I I don't think West Ham. I think West Ham are just looking at it that he's available and they're just going to try and get him. West Ham, for some crazy reason, I do not understand why, is they do not know how to scout a striker. They've got no idea how to scout a striker for love or money. Even when Steidman was here, what are you saying about Evan Ferguson, mate?
So, and this is an interesting because this seems to divide opinions. And
Yeah.
the hold up with this deal, there's a few hold ups with the deal. One of which seems to be that we're talking about every which way that we could construct this deal. Because, and again, this is a Sullivan way of doing it. Is he wants to know the price for a straight loan, a loan with option, a loan with obligation, and a straight purchase. And
Yeah.
then after we know that he definitely wants to come, which I'm pretty confident he wants to come. After that, we will make a decision based on, I think, how the chips land based on other targets that we've got. There was this lad from Liverpool that we've been linked with randomly as well that I've never heard of any interest.
Tyler Moulton looks decent.
And we'll
looks
cut,
safe.
yeah, we can come to that in a moment as well. We can talk about that because I'm interested in that. But the Ferguson thing, right? So if you look back, in his first year, he had a really, really good first season at 18 years old. Graham Potter
Yeah.
gave him his debut. He scored a bunch of goals. He was rated at £100 million because Spurs and Chelsea were looking at him. Which tells me the kid is he's full of talent. He's got tons of talent. If you compare him with John Duran, who like our club, our fans had an absolute obsession with, right? Because John Duran had scored probably a similar amount of goals at this stage of his career as Evan Ferguson, right?
59 appearances, 13 goals. Just looked it up.
Fine. So 59 appearances, 13 goals, a lot of them sub appearances, and he's 20 years old, right? You put those players next to each other. Our fan base was obsessed over John Duran, and the big downfall with John Duran was attitude. And the rumor is that Chelsea had identified him as a talent, but didn't go ahead with him because they had heard about how he is behind the scenes and how he conducts himself. So if you compare them and you go, Duran, 40 million player, horrible attitude, Evan Ferguson, 40 million pound player, potentially injury prone. Like that's the comparison that I make. And I look at this. So you say this is we're getting someone for the sake of it. I actually look at it as this could be a brilliant opportunity. And if this deal goes through, the ideal scenario is loan with option, right? You negotiate a good option. If he comes in, he gets injured, he's rubbish, you send him back and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but how can you judge him on, how can I put it? How can you judge him on, say, 10 games?
But then how can you judge anyone on 10 games? My question would be, what's the point in any kind of loan deal where you're going to want to sign?
If you believe in the man, Jay, and you seriously believe and you think, right, this is the guy, this is the man I want to replace Mikel Antonio, then you don't loan him, you buy him. That's my attitude. I look at it like, well, if you're going to drop 57 mil on John Duran, you know what his attitude's like. You know what the problem is. At least with Ferguson, he's got time to grow. He's got time to sort of become better. He's only young. His attitude as a centre forward is pretty good. He's a pretty humble lad and all. From like some of the clips I've seen of him, he looks like a good laugh. The Irish are a good laugh.
Yeah.
So I get that. I understand that. But then, what are we? Is it a Sullivan? Let's loan him for like let's give him a trial. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, are we going to do that with every striker that we're trying to get? That's what I'm trying to say.
I agree, and this is the thing, and this is probably why we're trying to look at every different way that we can construct this deal. Because I think in any scenario where Evan Ferguson comes to the club, it's good first and foremost.
Yeah.
I think getting Evan Ferguson from now until the end of the season, however the rest of it falls, is a good thing. I agree with you. Like, if he's the guy, the people you've got to listen to here are Graham Potter and Carl McCauley, because they'll know him better than anyone. I'm pretty sure, I don't know if Carl McCauley brought him to Brighton, but he's obviously been around him. He obviously understands him. And we wouldn't be this advanced or this deep into discussions about him if both those people didn't think, yes, he's a good person to bring in. And it will be down to them as to whether we we do or should buy him permanently, because the only concern is about his injuries. So do they want to go and spend 40 million quid on a player who's going to be injured half the time? I don't know, which is why I said I think a loan with option is the best deal. But if it's me and Potter says yes and Macaulay says yes to a permanent transfer, go and get him permanently. And I'm happy with him, because a player who's that young, especially if he's coming in and he's got Bowen for competition, Fulkrug will come back as well. If he's going to get injured or if he starts getting niggles, you don't have to play him. You doesn't have to play through injuries like perhaps Mikel Antonio had to and destroying his body, or perhaps like Andy Carroll may have done in the past. Like Allardyce was lethal for rushing Andy Carroll back and getting him injured for another 3 months.
Let me ask you a question. I see a comment there from Danny Jordan. Shout out to you, mate, wherever you are. Delap or Ferguson? Who would you rather have?
Oh, it's a good question. I think I'd rather have Ferguson because Potter knows him, and this is the differentiator that we've got to be looking at. Potter's decided that this is the guy that he wants, and he has worked with him before. He has seen how talented he is in training week in, week out. He's seen how good he is in games, and he's scored goals for him before. This is the differentiating factor that people don't remember. If we trust this manager
Working
and we trust this guy, if we trust this guy, if this guy is saying, get me Evan Ferguson, and you can get a 20-year-old, a 20-year-old kid who was touted as a wonder kid, then you should be going and getting him, regardless of who else is out there, who else costs how much money. This should have been our first priority for the whole window, and this is what we should be going to do because our manager knows him and our manager wants him. So we should just go and back the manager. It's literally as simple as that for me.
Yeah, I can understand that. Michael, shout out to you, mate. James, what do you think the Dwarf would have done if Villa would have accepted the bid for Duran? I personally think he would have shit himself. I completely agree, mate. I think his arsehole would have fell out on the floor and said, sorry, we're going to have to change that and drop it down to 40 mil. I'm not against Ferguson. I really am not. I think Ferguson's a good young player. I think he's got bags of potential. The injuries do concern me, the little niggles that he's getting. And the only thing I will say is teams are coming in for him, but no one's really sort of concrete other than us. Now, obviously, if he comes to West Ham, he's our striker for the next 5 years. That's what we want. And I suppose if we're going to go down that route, it's better the devil you know, isn't it, with Potter? Like, he knows the man. He's worked with the man. He knows what he can do in his side. He knows how he sets up. So it could be a gem. The only issue I've got, and I do say it all the time, is the construction of the deal. And that goes down to Sullivan. Now, what happens if Sullivan doesn't get this one over the line? Because this is the fear. If Potter wants him, and I see people saying about, is Sullivan setting Potter up to fail? I actually agree with him on this one. If Potter wants Ferguson, and you can go and drop £57 million out for Duran, why are you not going out and making sure that you get Ferguson for Potter? Do you know what I mean? That's the question that I need to be asked, Jay, really.
I think this is it. And Colin saying Delap, yeah, shout out Colin. I hear anyone, and this is a really interesting comparison actually. Two very young strikers, both full of talent, both offer slightly different things. And Ferguson obviously comes with that injury record. I think that's the only reason we haven't gone and. I think that's the reason. First of all, we haven't gone and got him, but second of all, the reason he's so cheap. Don't forget that thing that I said a moment ago. This guy was £100 million rated and was touted as the next Harry Kane. He's that good. England were trying to persuade him to switch allegiance.
Cross over, yeah.
Like that's how good this kid actually is. So the only reason that he's now affordable for us as West Ham, a big club, but we can't go and buy 20-year-old wonder kids from clubs that are competing in the same area of the table as us. Like, we don't have that kind of money normally. So if he was still 100 million quid, we wouldn't have a chance of getting him. The fact that he's potentially 40 million quid means this, yes, it's a risk, but if it's a risk that pays off, in 2 years, you've got a £100 million striker playing for you, who's going to bag tons of goals under a manager that knows him and knows how to get the best out of him. So if we're looking for long term, which is what everyone wants, yes, this is a risk, but it's also a great opportunity to get a top quality striker.
Question.
Go on.
Do we get him?
I've said from the start, my gut was telling me this was the only deal that we would do, and my gut still tells me the same thing. I genuinely think we get him in some description because Potter he won't go to bat over many players, if anyone, in his transfer window. But I reckon this is a player who goes to bat over because he knows him, because he knows how big an opportunity this will be. If you land him for 40 million quid with a reasonable payment structure and you've solved your long-term striker issue, knowing that like we have an outlay for a centre back in the summer who's already playing for the club, but then all of a sudden you go, holy shit, we've actually solved West Ham's biggest problem in the Premier League era, which is we've never had a striker who could be consistent for us. So I think we do get him, and I think it's a great opportunity. And fuck you, Steve Tiley.
I'll just see that in the chat with Steve. Chat to Steve. When though? Because it ain't going to be tonight. I don't think it's going to be tomorrow. Is it on deadline day that West Ham get that done?
Yeah, I think so. Sully doesn't work weekends, does he? And Brighton have got a game on Saturday. So I think the Saturday game will have to pay. The Saturday game will have to pay. The Saturday game will have to be played, and then like everyone will have to sorry, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say Ferguson will have to come through the game. And once we get the nod that yes, he's fit, he's fine, then I think we go, all right, fine, we'll push the deal through on Monday. And then it's like oh yeah, West Ham have done something on. It's good PR for Sullivan, isn't it? Like him getting a dead. I bet he loves it. I bet he looks at himself in the mirror every time a deal goes through on deadline day. I bet he watches Sky Sports News and goes, yeah, I'm brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah. Like I bet it's a bit of an ego trip for him as well. So yeah, I think we get him, and I think we get him on deadline day.
That's a great comparison. Dean Ashton.
I just thought of it as well. I said we haven't had a good striker in the Premier League era, and then I thought Dean Ashton, what could have been. Like it would be heartbreaking if he was another Dino. But if you had and here's the question then: if you had the chance to sign Dean Ashton again, knowing how injury prone he was, and knowing that he could suffer a career-ending injury, would you sign him? But they're all coulds, by the way. They're coulds. This is the thing. Like
I don't think he had an injury problem before he arrived at West Ham from Norwich, from what I remember. And I actually thought he was pretty healthy for West Ham to a point. I used to get little niggles here and there, but nothing major. Do you know what I mean, Dean? But I just want someone who's long term. That's what it is. Like for me, like my personal opinion is that we need to start replacing strikers at the club. Do you know what I mean? Because we've got 3 aging strikers and we need to bring some youth in. Now, if that is Evan Ferguson and we pay 40 million for the man, I think that's about right. When does it become too expensive? 50 million, does it, Jay? Or 45?
I don't see us spending 50 million pounds on a striker, any striker, to be honest. I think 40 is probably our ceiling, 40, 45, something on those lines. I actually think it gives us a good chance to negotiate, knowing that he's got a bit of a reputation for being injured. But I think that probably helps us. So I think we can probably construct a deal where it's like 30 something plus 10 mil of add-ons, like low 30s plus 10 mil of add-ons. And I think that's a really good deal if you get something like that. So I think that's probably helping us, if anything. And also shout out Lucas for respecting the trim. Love that. Man.
Respect the trim. Arthur Cabral, what you saying? We faced him against Fiorentina in the cup final.
How did that go for him?
Fucking shit. He scored everything. If I remember rightly, he was scoring goals for fun, and he come up against the Mighty Hammers at Prague, and would you take him? 18 million pounds, Brazilian centre forward.
He's not done a lot this season. It's another one, isn't it? Like any striker that we're looking at has not done a lot this season. It's the difficulty. So
true.
I honestly don't know. I think again, like if he comes in on loan with an option, any reputable striker on loan with an option, I'm probably happy with. I think we need a body in the door to see us through until Fulkrug's back at least. And then if, like, let's say Cabral come in on loan and he was absolutely horrendous for 2 months, and then Fulkrug's back, and you go, okay, fine, it didn't work. Great. Like Fulkrug's back. You know what we get with Fulkrug? Bowen and him can rotate up needs be, fine, no problem. And I actually low-key think Potter will get a tune out of Fulkrug as well. But another conversation for another day. But yeah, I think loan with option, I would take just anyone. If it's a backup to Ferguson, then I would accept it. But, you know.
Is anyone going to leave West Ham before the window shuts?
This story that come out, I don't know if it was true about Andy Irving on loan to Blackburn. I don't remember where
Rovers,
that. And it only didn't happen because he/his agent wanted more money at the last minute if Blackburn went up, which is kind of sad because I think I was chatting to my friend who's a Rovers fan, actually, and talking about this transfer. And he's come to West Ham a couple of times with me. And I've told him the story of the mythical Andy Irvine. And we both agreed, like, he's perfect for that Rovers side. He would do really, really well in that team. And I think he'll be one of those players who's not Premier League standard, but he's too good for the Championship. Like, I think he'll get on the ball in the Championship and he'll be so good technically, but he's too slow for the Premier League, is my only thoughts on him. So it's a weird one that he's not gone there, but he wants to be playing Premier League football, I think. So he's probably looked at it and gone, maybe I don't want to. And maybe he's just happy sitting on the bench for the rest of the season at West Ham. But do I expect someone to leave? Probably not. Do I hope someone leaves? Yeah, I'd hope that we get like any kind of bid for Guido Rodriguez, and it frees up a squad space for us to maybe go out and sign some kind of centre midfielder. I don't know. It's wishful thinking, but it's the only one I could hope for, I think.
What do you think about this window? Like, because some people say to me, like, obviously you can't go and get the right players in the January window. I don't know about that one. I look at some clubs. I look at Villa, for example. They get rid of Duran. They sign Marlon. Marlon was already in there before they get rid of Duran. I don't want to compare us to Man City because it's different levels, but Man City go out and smash the cash for who's the Egyptian they just signed. It comes to me in a minute. That's it, Mamouche. What a name. What do you think in regards to this window? Because it seems like West Ham never do a lot in the January window, mate.
I think first and foremost, it has been a difficult window because there's been so much going on at West Ham. You look at, we've just had a change of manager. Then it's all kicked off with the technical director in the background, and we've been basically tapping up a new head of recruitment, which has meant Potter's probably gone. You could tell from the way he was conducting himself in interviews that he was like, I don't want any Steiden signings. I want to wait for my man. And he's been waiting for Carl McCauley to come in the door, basically being like, whatever methodology Carl McCauley uses, he's obviously happy with, and it obviously works. So whatever it is that he does in whatever software he has, he trusts him, and he didn't trust what he doesn't know, which I respect. So I think a lot of the delay has been just the chaos that's been going on over the last month at West Ham. But you would hope that now that the dust is starting to settle, you would hope that they'd have gone, cool, this is the absolute priority for January. This is who we want to go and get. I think that person is Evan Ferguson. And I think, again, the timings are just like, he's only just come back from injury. Brighton play this weekend. Carl McCauley's only just arrived. Like, I feel like it kind of has been a perfect storm. I don't want to make excuses for the fact we've not signed anyone because we clearly needed to. But I do think there's a lot of extenuating circumstances that have led us to be in this position. What I can't excuse is just the random bids going out. Just like look at the Banzuzi thing. We were on the verge of agreeing Banzuzi.
Oh, yes. I just want to shout this out. Tay, this is a message to you. Anyone can clip me up this right there. Wanker. Cost me 200 quid. So I'm just going to say that. Yeah, I mean, fucking sauce. The only sauce that cunt's got is his fucking mayonnaise sauce in his cupboard, the cunt. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, Tay, wanker. Carry on, Jay.
Again, I never put money on the I called it first.
I called it first FC, mate.
Yeah. But if we just go back to Banzuzi, right? Because Sky reported it, Tave reported it, like a bunch of places reported it, and suddenly it went around, and we were on the verge of agreeing it. We were within like £1 million of agreeing this transfer for this highly rated youngster, and then it just fades into nothing. And then suddenly we're not interested in him. So why is Sullivan now tickling more ball sacks across European football to get all the way to the point where like you're gonna take the plunge and like get the deal done, and then you don't bother? Like it's just baffling to me. It really is baffling to me.
James, Wickham want to sign Kadua on a permanent. Do West Ham sell him? Do you sell Kadua, mate? Yes or no?
Yeah, probably. Anytime I've watched him, he's not looked like Premier League standard. He looks like a talent, but I've never seen him look like Premier League standard. And he doesn't seem to be holding down a place in that Wickham side. So I think Wickham know that he could develop to be a good player at their level, but I don't think he's Premier League standard personally, just from the limited games that I've seen him. So yeah, I'd probably cash in on him. If you can get like any kind of fee and a chunky sell-on clause, then yeah, cash in on him.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's at his level. If I'm being honest, I see him over Dagenham and Redbridge at the start of the season, in a pre-season friendly. Didn't look amazing. Looked decent, but didn't look amazing. And you got to look amazing to be in the Premier League. So yeah, I'd probably sell him for a small fee. Do you know what I mean? I really would. Most owners see who looks like who they could drop in. I feel it's easy to keep their powder dry. I do agree with you on one thing what you have said though, Jay, about the consistent links to different players all the time, over and over again. I think that is like that's where that's where it angers me to a point. Like, because I look at it and think, well, are you telling me that you still haven't got organised your striker front? Do you know what I mean? Even so much as Steiden, yeah, I would have assumed Steiden would have pinpointed the striker. There is a striker out in Leverkusen, who is a sort of great striker in Mr. Boniface, but he ain't going to Saudi. But that's the sort of people that we should be going for. Now, if we do get Evan Ferguson in, it could be a touch of genius. But will we though? That's the $1 million question. Do you know what I mean? Brandy and ginger beer. Thank me later.
Oh yeah, I've got Lucas asked me thoughts on Iron Brew. I haven't had an Iron Brew since I was a kid, but I remember very much enjoying it. But I had a problem with sugar; it used to make me go mental, so that's probably why.
Yeah, I've never won for Iron Brew. I tell you what, I used to have. Yeah, and talk about. Well, he must have just come through to my adult life. Shandy Bass. Anyone remember Shandy Bass? The old little Shandy Bass used to have like 1% of alcohol in it. Yeah, you used to have like 5 or 6 of them, mate. Be out your nut, trust me.
Nice.
You'd be asleep in the corner, but yeah, Shandy Bass. Great days they were. Do you know what I mean? Shandy Bass and a pick and mix. God, yeah, I've gone up in the world, haven't I? Do you know what I'm saying? Iron's Insight. Shout out to that man's channel. Go and subscribe to that man's channel, Harry. He does some good things on there, so go and subscribe to that man's channel. Iron's Insight. He's insightful. I will say that. Jay, you got anything you want to add on? Anything you want to ask? Questions? Anything?
What's the future of Thomas Souček? I see this being debated a lot recently on the timeline. The man just hit 5 years at West Ham. He dug us out of a hole. He then went on to be in Premier League Team of the Season the following year. He's won a European trophy with us. He scored that great goal against Seville with a bandage on his head. He's bled for the shirt probably upwards of half a dozen times. But I see a lot of one of the most disrespectful men in a West Ham shirt alongside Mikel Antonio. What is his future? What do you want to see next season with Thomas Souček?
I look at it on both sides. On the one side, look what he brings to us. Like he represents us on the pitch. He gives it everything for the shirt. He's not the best, because if he was the best, he wouldn't play for West Ham. Right? It's as simple as that. On the other side, I can see what people were saying about the midfield area. It's key to like a lot of our problems, and Souček isn't always the best on the ball. But nevertheless, you got to respect the man. Do you know what I mean? He's been here 5 years. Jared Bowen's been here the same amount of time. Both of them players have gone through the dark days and helped us win a trophy. Do you know what I'm saying? Let's put it this way: if a bid come in at 35 million, do you consider it?
Yeah, well, we had this chat, didn't we? And I'll tell you what entered my mind recently is, imagine there's this world, where Evan Ferguson signs and Lucas Paqueta is found not guilty and stays at the club, right? West Ham need to go out and sign a top quality number 6. Yeah. When's the last time that we saw Lucas Paqueta play well in a midfield 2 for West Ham? It's back when we had Declan Rice playing, and he played in front of a back 3 with Declan Rice, and those two ran the game together because no one could get through Declan Rice. Paqueta was his free-flying best, and we were really, really good in midfield back then. So if you look at this, right, and we have a midfield of unknown number 6 who is worth like 30-40 million pounds, who will come in and be everything we thought Edson Alvarez was going to be, alongside Paqueta. In front of them in the box midfield, you have Bowen and Kudus. Then you have Evan Ferguson up front. How tasty does that look? If you can get the right number 6 who could actually cover the stuff that Paqueta can't do as well, then that's a serious midfield.
That is a good question for David there, right? What would it cost to replace Souček? Now, I'm not talking about player, but his contribution to goals from midfield, things like that. Because let's have it right, him and Bowen are the most lethal players in our side at the minute. Do you know what I mean? Kudus isn't the same player. Paqueta has only had 2 good games in about a year. Do you know what I'm saying? How much would it cost, do you think, to replace a player who's technically that good and the goals and all?
I think something that is actually priceless to replace is his leadership as well.
Yeah.
Look how much he loves this club, and look how motivational he is amongst the rest of the players. He leads by example, and like it's as simple as that. You look at how many times he's dug us out of a hole. You look at him. We scored the other day, and he's got his arm around Kudus, instructing him where to go and what to do because he's
Yeah.
filling in as captain. You cannot replace that. That you can't buy that in. That is built in a player over a
Can
period
you-
of time playing for a club.
Can
that
you
they love.
tell me what, if you was describing his role at West Ham, what is he? Is he a box to box? Is he an attacking midfielder? Is he a defensive midfielder? Like, what is Thomas Souček really, to a point?
He is. That's really hard.
I know.
He's a deep line box to box, isn't he? Because when he's in that midfield too, and this is this is the downfall of what we're currently playing, and this is the reason that I kind of fear for Souček next season. Because I love him, I would happily have him carry on playing football, which is why I said on Monday, if we could teach him how to be like a top quality six, I'd be buzzing. Because then the long term vision of getting probably someone more creative, a bit deeper, would be realized. But like the downfall of him playing alongside Edson Alvarez is that midfield was getting cut through in that first 25 minutes against Villa, and against a team that's going to be more clinical because they were off the back of a European night. They weren't necessarily as at it as potentially they would be. Like we'd have got cut through and we'd have been 3-0 down after 25 minutes. So that is a limitation of Thomas Souček that we have to consider. And that's why I fear for him moving forward. But I still want to see him in that squad. I still want to see him playing games for West Ham. I still want to see if we're 75 minutes in and we need a goal and we're trying to break down, let's say like a Chelsea or an Arsenal or someone, and you see big Thomas Souček get off the bench, the whole like crowd is going to be like, here we go. Some big long balls are going to come in and some danger is going to be like had from set pieces and stuff. And he'll just put himself about. He's exactly what you need. So anyone who's like desperate for him to be out of the side, I would say, I think I couldn't see somebody said something about only certain like football fans can't see what Thomas Souček brings to a side. And I think that's 100% correct. Like there's a lot that he brings that people don't realize or don't give him respect for. And we need to think about that before people want him out the door.
But what do you do with him in regards of him basically having 2 years left? Because his contract expires in 2027. You've got a man there that is he a Potter player? But then saying that, it seems like every time people say he's not a Moyes player or he's a Moyes player, it goes to someone else. Then it goes to fucking Lopetegui. He's not a Lopetegui player. Now he goes to sort of Potter. Is he a Potter player? Pascal Gross was another player who Potter had. Yeah, wasn't the most like glamorous of like Germans, but he done the job. Do you know what I'm saying? And I can see that with Souček to a point. I don't know about you, mate.
He's just inevitable, isn't it? Remember. So Marky Noble talks about this, doesn't he? In the when he came through under, I think Pardew gave him his debut. He come through under Pardew, and no manager ever dropped him. He was like, he brought that much, and he was another player who got a bit of disrespect in his time as well because he was so slow, and people still look back at with their short memories about what Mark Noble actually brought to the side. But the fact of the matter was, he was undroppable under every single manager. He was so inevitable. Thomas Souček is like becoming like that. This is the third manager who's come in and he's playing games under him. If he starts again next season, then he might be the greatest central midfielder that West Ham have had in the Premier League era. I'm saying that with like, let's take that with a pinch of salt. But like, he's just proven that he's got qualities that managers need in their side. And you look at how much he's actually improved as an all-round footballer this season. Yeah. How much better is he on the ball as well? Like, it's frightening looking at how different he is now to how he was maybe 2 seasons ago when he would get the ball and he would lose it.
But if someone comes in with a bid for him, so let's just say, right, I'm going to be sort of straight and honest on this one. Let's say 32.5 million to round it up. Yeah. So it's over 30 mil, right? It's high enough to accept, but then you have to take that 32.5 million pounds and go and find someone who can do 10 goals a season, because that's what Thomas Souček does from midfield. And Or do you sort of put that towards a striker and then sort of bring in young up and coming midfield? Or do we go back to the old days of basically letting the midfielders be the engine room of our club and then let the strikers score the goals? Like, Jay.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? And this is what we've not been good at historically is player trading,
Yeah.
like selling players at their peak value, knowing that you can replace them. I think if we're in a position of strength whereby, let's say we do sell Souček for £30 million, which I think would be a really good offer, and I would say is probably one you'd have to accept, given the points that you'd raised about where he is in his career, and what he brings to the side, I would begrudgingly accept 30 mil. You've got to then look at, you've got Alvarez. I imagine Paqueta will be one of the players that drops a bit deeper, but we've seen Paqueta and Alvarez deep together. Like, granted, it was early in the Lopetegui era. So maybe, again, take that with a pinch of salt because Lopetegui's instructions weren't getting through and he was obviously just fucking useless. So maybe Potter gets a bit more of a tune out of those two together. I don't know. But you look at those two, I'd imagine Irving goes. I'd imagine Guido Rodriguez goes. I'd imagine Potts comes into the fold. You go out and sign a top quality 6, and then you've got 2 6s, and you've got 2 creative, like more creative midfielders in Paqueta and Freddie Potts as well. So I would look at that and go, it's big money to go and then restructure how you look at the midfield. Because in the box midfield, if you've got someone more creative alongside a 6, you've got 3 players in there when you incorporate, let's say it's Paqueta, Bowen, and Kudus, who are like playing interplay in the box midfield. It looks really good. It sounds really good on paper. So I think there's a world where like this would be the spark that then changes the way West Ham play. But I wouldn't necessarily say, oh yeah, I'm desperate for a 30 mil bid to come in. If David Moyes goes, I want Thomas Souček, send 30 mil West Ham's way, I say, yeah, fair enough. Because I know he's going somewhere where he'll be loved and where he'll do a really good job and where he could probably finish his Premier League career. And enjoy himself as well. And at the same time, we get good money for him to go and reinvest. So that's the kind of deal that would make sense, I think.
I think if the money's there, for me, to round this up with Souček, if the money's there, I think you've got to take it. I think you have to accept it. I know it's hard, but you have to. Like, he's got 2 years left on his current deal. I think he's 29 years of age, I think, if memory serves me right. So he's getting on a bit. The Premier League's getting faster. We need younger players. Shout out to that man there. Hammers Bites.
Yeah.
Go and subscribe to that man's channel. You know what I mean? I'll shout you out, brother. Don't you worry about that. Do you know what I mean? Get this boat race on your thumbnail, son. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying about that. But yeah, go and follow Hammers Bites.
Great channel. Great channel.
What a man. What a guy. But for me, if someone said to us right now, we're going to get £30 million for Thomas Souček and we're going to go and replace him with a couple of up and coming sort of DMs or box to box players, then I'm all for it. The issue is that we have to get it right if we do get rid of him, because we are taking a goal threat away then. And let's have it right. When without Bowen, we haven't really got a goal threat as much. You know what I mean? Paqueta's come into his own a little bit, and Kudus has gone a bit dry. So we need some goal threats all around the pitch. One man though, I am going to speak about before we round this video up, because we're nearly done an hour. 5 years ago today, we signed a man from Hull, £22 million. See, you can buy right and get it right. What have you made of Jared Bowen's time at West Ham, son?
I never thought it'd be possible to love a man this much, but apparently it is. I have no words. Like, you look at the journey he's gone, not only in his career, but like from when he joined West Ham as well. I remember back to the COVID season when he was still bedding into the side. He was still getting used to Premier League football. And at 60, 65 minutes, without fail, like, Bowen was getting dragged. And he was clearly not the finished article at that point. And like, he had a lot to improve on. You could see the frustration in his face. And I remember being like, I wonder if this lad's going to make it. Like, I wonder if like he's just not going to have it and Moyes doesn't fancy him. But you look at how much he's brought to the side and how many times he's popped up with a goal when we've needed a goal in like game after game, different competitions, Europe, Cups, Premier League. The amount of big goals he's scored and the unbelievable finisher that he is just frightening. Like, to think that we've got that guy, we picked him up from Hull. He's still got another 6 years at the club and he will probably see out his career, or certainly the majority of his career, at West Ham. And I hope that he just spends the rest of his career here and he retires at West Ham at the age of like 35. And he has already written himself in West Ham history. He's a legend. The goal that he scored in Prague has given us all a memory that we'll never forget. I can't believe it's 5 years already, and he's only halfway through. He's only just getting started. We're 5 years in. Oh, mate, we are so blessed to have that player at our club. Every time someone like talks about him potentially leaving, especially like reputable people, I'm like, behave yourselves. He is here for the future. Love that man so much.
Yeah. Before I go into Jared Bowen, smash a like on the video. I've only got 30 likes. Get us to 100 likes, and I'll be happy on this Friday evening. I'm very happy with being a West Ham fan currently right now. Listen, one thing I will say about Jared Bowen is what a role model for every young up and coming player. Right, he took the plunge from Hull. He learnt the hard way in being at Hereford and being a sort of like non-league player, learnt his trade. And this is when people say to me, "Oh, you got to throw the youngsters in." Listen, sometimes you got to learn your game and learn your craft, and that's what that man did. He went to Hull. I was actually seeing a bird who's from that way many years ago, and I remember when we got linked with him. And people were saying to me, "James, if he comes to West Ham, he'll be dynamite. Trust me." Yeah. And when we signed him, I was like, let's see how good this kid really is, because he was very good in the Championship. One-on-one finishing was excellent. I don't think he missed a one-on-one chance. Every time a ball went through the middle for him, he converted it. A bit like Lyon away and a bit like Prague. And ever since he's come, he's been a breath of fresh air. Absolute breath of fresh air, the man. And he leads. He is what we want, like a West Ham player to be. Like very good. Speaks well. Doesn't like act like a fucking idiot. He's not out getting older birds. He's a family man. That's what we want. That's what we're looking at our club. And do you know what? I am so grateful to have that geezer at the helm, because there has been times where there's been dark days with West Ham, and he's never wanted to back down and go. He's always said, "No, I'm going to stay." And he's got the respect of the current players around him. I'm going to be honest. Like Mo rates him. I see the video earlier on with all the people talking about Jared Bowen as the captain. And we fucking love this man. We really do. I don't think he's leaving. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he stays here for the rest of his career. And I think he wants to be the new Mr. West Ham. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to say this quite openly. The man is a fucking legend. He's a legend. Like, and people say, "Oh no, like you got people of the past." He's the modern day legend for the modern day West Ham fan. Like, and he represents us in such a cool, calm way. And every time he's on the pitch, I never see him sort of shy away or go missing. Do you know what I'm saying? He's always there, and he represents us very well. So for £22 million, I'm going to be straight. Fucking, it's probably one of the best signings West Ham's made. Do you know what I mean? And long may that continue. Do you know what I'm saying?
I've just thought of like one thing to anybody who says there's no room for sentiment in football. Get your brain around this. Mark Noble's son is in like the under 14s. Imagine in like 3-4 years' time, Jared Bowen is captain in West Ham, and Mark Noble's son comes on for a debut, and Jared Bowen takes him under his wing for his first game as a West Ham player. And the torch is once again passed from a player that's played with his dad to then play with Lenny Noble as well. And then Lenny Noble starts his West Ham career. That is everything that I want as a West Ham fan.
It would not surprise me is if Jared gets to 34, 35, then hands the baton over to him. Like that would not surprise me at all, because that's the way it is. This is what Jared Bowen represents with West Ham currently right now, is exactly what we wanted Declan Rice to be. Exactly that. And obviously Declan's over at Arsenal winning trophies and all that. You know what I mean? Doing really well, winning loads of trophies over there. So, you know, sometimes the grass isn't always greener. Do you know what I mean? The money might be green, but the grass definitely ain't.
We got one other person to thank, and that is Danny Dyer Jr. for birthing the children of Jared Bowen in the East End, and meaning that he is locked into this area forever. So as much as he loves the club, he loves his family, and he is here forever. Jared, you are never leaving. So there you go.
Yeah, honestly, I could sit here all night and praise the man up. Obviously, the goal for me makes him a legend. From Prague, that winning goal in the final to win our first trophy in 43 years. And let's have it right. I'm going to be a bit morbid when I say this. We might never see another trophy again at West Ham. Yeah, some of us, that might be our moment. There's people that have been and gone and never seen West Ham win anything in that 43 years, and that's pretty sad. So I'm going to embrace that. The man's a fucking legend, and he deserves the respect. He really does. Jay, any final words from you, son?
Uh hold tight, everyone. January's nearly done. Yeah, Daniel can't pronounce your second name. Gullifer. Let's go with Gullifer. Get Dawson home. Bring that big bastard back to the bowl. Let's play set piece FC once again. Let's see him absolutely tearing through defenders at a corner. Let's see him booting more people in the head. I'm ready. Bring me Craig Dawson, bring me Evan Ferguson, and I'll be happy on Tuesday. Simple as that.
Yeah, indeed so, mate. Just bring us some players, David Sullivan. That's what I'm going to say. Well, we don't ask for a lot. Yeah, we're asking you to bring 2 players to the club, and it seems like it's mission impossible for West Ham. But that's it. Smash a like on the video. Right, hit that like button, people. Like, help me out. It goes a long way. Smash a like on the video. Subscribe to E20 Zone TV and hit the notification bell. I will be back over the weekend to do a preview for Chelsea. Oh, that'd be fun. Any sort of quick thoughts on Chelsea, Jay, before we go?
I'm actually really excited for this game now. I'm really excited for it. Potter's had a bit of time to get his feet under the table. Yeah. The storylines are building. I'm ready for it, mate. It's going to be good fun.
Yeah. Like the stream, if Hammers Bites promises not to put Chelsea's boat race on the thumbnail. Yeah, listen, Hammers Bites, don't lose followers, mate, because of my boat race. Trust me, you don't want to do that. You know what I mean? You'll be fine, son. You'll be fine on your own. Right, that's enough from us. Enjoy your Friday wherever you are. Yeah, and I will catch up again with you soon. David Sullivan. We want Ferguson and we want Dawson. If you bring both, it'd be great.
Hype, 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 hype. Come with me, Dawson.